Vault Veritas. SCP Files. Episode 101 Safe.
Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Whatever he thinks he's going to find in my room, he won't. Honestly, that's not even the point. The man has spent years wheedling and poking at me from afar, and now suddenly he's locking doors in my face? He must have grown a spine. How annoying.
Welcome to my containment. At least until Miranda returns.
Well, gives me time to figure out what comes next. Attacking me. Attacking Mary.
If I could ask for a different use of your time, please?
I was wondering about that. You look terrible.
Miranda stepped up the pace of the reports. One a day. It's been awful. Niall, what if it's costing me more than just feeling sick and nauseous? The Foundation doesn't understand me at all, it seems. They're still running tests. What if every report is taking something else along with it?
It's costing you your health, that's for sure. You need a vacation.
I don't think I'm getting one anytime soon.
No, I suppose not. No. What you need is some type of program where you can speak daily with someone who handles safe class objects. Non-living SCPs that, if their abilities are heightened, still pose no extra threat. They pick up or walk by an object, then come tell you about it. You get relief and no harm done.
Please suggest that to Miranda.
I will. I rather expect her not to care if it isn't more than you just feeling unwell, though. I would like to suggest a series of medical tests to her. Figure out exactly what this strain is doing to you. How does that sound?
Less pleasant now that I'm an SCP.
I can pull strings, make sure they're humane and ethical. We are the ethics department, after all. Well, that's our cover story anyway.
And for right now?
How about a montage to pass the time? We can title it The Story of How Little Niall Avoided Death at the Hands of a Million Terrifying Anomalies while still fulfilling a vital testing role.
That's quite a mouthful.
Featuring quite a few SCPs that I wouldn't mind having a bit of a boost from your powers. Incident Report 2295-348-999-1. First known incident report to combine a mishmash of the most sweet, generous, and altruistic SCPs currently contained by the SCP Foundation. Object classes, all safe. Risk assessment levels, all basically non-existent. Little Niall had his fair share of horrors at the Foundation. All the tests I was volunteered for were intended to be safe and harmless. But as you likely know by now, what the Foundation intends to happen and what really happens are often two different things entirely. And so little Niall was hurt on more than one occasion and required some patching up. And of course, being raised by rather famous researchers, the solution was rarely a hospital. More often, it was another anomaly. Why use conventional medicine when you've got an entire database full of alternatives? SCP-2295 was my favourite, I think. It wasn't the first I needed to use, but it was the one I owe the most to. Little Niall was in a bad shape following an experiment gone awry. A containment seal had failed during a rather routine test, and the chamber had filled with a thick black gas. I remember it smelled like rot and death, and I held my breath. I held my breath until my lungs ached and my head swam, and my chest felt as though it were going to explode. When I finally sucked in a lungful of that heavy vapour, it felt like inhaling broken glass. Every breath afterwards was shallow agony. The anomaly itself was eventually deemed harmless. Unfortunately, by the time the researchers realized what had happened, I had already inhaled enough of that gas to permanently scar large patches of my left lung. I was in the medical bay for several days. Every breath shot fire through my chest. There was a constant hum of equipment, so unceasing that I began to hear it even in my dreams. When I needed to cough or sneeze, the excruciating pain lasted for hours after. At long last, I was given something of comfort. A doctor placed a little patchwork stuffed bear at the end of my bed. It was small and soft, stitched together with scraps of different cloth, and had a pin of an anatomically correct heart over its left side. I hugged it to my chest immediately. Despite the stab in my lung, I finally had something to ease my misery, and it did better than I ever could have hoped. The bear, you see, was SCP-2295, the sweetest anomaly we've ever imprisoned. Sensing the damage in my lung, the little bear pulled away from me. I was shocked at its movement, of course, but at this point I was accustomed to seemingly innate things moving on their own. And so I simply watched as it pulled from its mouth a pair of scissors, a sewing needle, a clump of stuffing, and a length of checkered fabric. As I stared at it, mouth agape in utter confusion, it set about creating a patchwork imitation of a perfect small lung. I was not awake for the transplant, but it was not unpleasant at all. It simply lulled me to sleep with the dance of its needles as it sewed my new lung together. And when I awoke a few hours later, there was no scar, no wound, and finally, no further pain. The fabric lung functions exactly as the original, you see. It has grown as I grew. If you were to find a stethoscope and listen to my breathing now, you would hear a dull flutter as my breath inflates and deflates the fabric pouch. I have continued breathing, unobstructed, thanks to the bear's excellent work.
That's incredible. The organ transplant list in the US alone is miles long. That bear could save a lot of lives. What became of it?
I have stopped by multiple times to visit my old friend since then. It sits stifled and restricted, unable to assist anyone with its incredible gifts of life and health, inside a standard containment locker in Storage Wing 25 of Site 37. The Foundation has classified it as safe, which apparently means we keep it locked in a box and use it as an afterthought whenever we value someone enough to replace one of their parts. Similarly, SCP-348 is kept in a locked storage container at Site 19. Or it was, before the breach. I think that one might actually have been transferred here at some point. As you can tell, I do not revisit that particular one as I do 2295. But I think about it often enough. Once upon a time, little Niall turned 10 and began to question why he had to simply do as he was told and enter strange places with strange anomalies and risk his mind and his health over and over again. He began to fight back. Naturally, that caused such a headache for his poor and increasingly frustrated parents that they decided to try and entice him with a series of nice SCPs. Pleasant experiences, as if to say, "See, there's a good side to them all too. Don't you like what they have to offer?" One day, while wearing a 2-inch long scrape from a recent escapade involving running out of sheer terror from an anomaly that people insisted was safe, but which he somehow knew was not, little Niall was given for lunch a white ceramic bowl patterned with light blue flowers and etched with characters from a language he did not know. At this time in his life, he ordinarily would have shattered the bowl on principle, but something deep within him told him not to. A faint flicker of an understanding. Some inkling he had felt before, just as he had with the so-called safe anomaly. An instinct that was just starting to be honed. Somehow he simply knew that the thing he now held meant him no harm. As he cupped the bowl, it began to fill. It seemed to pull liquid from the air around him, ingredients materializing inside the bowl before his very eyes. In mere moments, it had filled with a thick and creamy potato and leek soup, reminiscent of the type his mam had always made for special occasions. Niall picked up the spoon and shoveled the soup into his mouth without a second thought. It melted in his mouth, warming him body and soul, and through him rushed a feeling of deep contentment. He did not feel angry anymore. He did not feel frightened. The scrape on his knee had stopped throbbing. For the first time in months, he felt neither like a test subject nor a problem to be solved. He felt right at home, as though this soup had been made specifically for him and him alone. When at last he'd eaten the last spoonful, he gazed wistfully into the bowl and, to his surprise, realized he'd uncovered a message, written in English, on the bottom. "You are safe." When Niall was done eating and felt content enough to finally listen to his parents once more and resume the testing they asked of him, the bowl was taken away and locked back up. To this day, it's only been used 6 further times, and all with the Foundation's intent to quickly heal VIPs or to coerce young ones into behaving. Having been on the receiving end of its gifts, I can assure you it was never the bull's desire to be used in that manner, and I often wonder what new message it would have for me now. When I was 10 years old, it told me I was safe. Looking back on it, I think it may have understood me better than I understood myself, than anyone understood me. All that insight, all that support, safely contained away. Thank goodness.
And SCP-999?
Is one I'd love to take you to meet one day. I don't know if that'd ever be possible, but what a sweet pup.
It's a dog?
Well, sort of. Sometimes it doesn't matter what an anomaly looks like. It's more about the feel of it. Look, I've changed my mind on that one. I don't want to tell you about it. I want to take you to see it, in person.
I wouldn't hold your breath on that one.
Yeah, I guess not. Regardless, how are you feeling?
Better. Much, much better. Thank you. And thank you for picking those ones.
No trouble at all. Could you taste the soup?
Not quite. There was a hint of something, but it was rather faint.
Pity. It's delicious. I'll have to make it for you sometime. I still have Mam's recipe.
You get much time for cooking?
More these days than before.
Ah.
Well, if you're both done with the touching reunion, I do have to ask. Niall, what the hell are you doing locked away in there? Did you forget your badge?
It was Seth. He's currently right in my office as we speak. And I'd be surprised if he hasn't looked through yours as well.
Come up and speak with me immediately. This sort of behavior will not be tolerated here.
Yes, ma'am. Scott, go on back to your room. Stay put and hang in there.
Vault Veritas SCP Files is a podcast inspired by the SCP Foundation. Safe is based on SCP-2295 by K-Moda, SCP-348 by Zin, and SCP-999 by Prof. Snyder, from the SCP Wiki located at scpwiki.com/SCP-2295-348 and -999. It is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Share-alike 3.0 unported license. This episode featured Justin Kellner as Scott Anderson, D.R. Thompson as Niall Connors, and Mintaka Angel as Miranda Sterling. It was written and edited by Leola Angel. We welcome comments. Please rate and review us, email us at vaultveritas@gmail.com, or join our Discord channel using the link in the episode description. Thanks for listening.